Hello everyone! Today we wanted to follow on what we saw some orchid channels do a while back and try and figure out what our top 5 favorite orchids are. We decided to cheat a little and split it between the two of us, so it's more of a top 10 to make our life easier.
The first plant on my list is our Aerides. A plant that when I ordered, I expected it to be much smaller, so the odds were against her when we unboxed a giant Vanda. With time, however, it grew on me. Enough to enter the top 5, and oddly enough, its size is one of the reasons I like it so much. It seems to climb up our window, framing it, and the sun always hits it in a beautiful way. Then there's the flowers. It has large plentiful spikes with uniquely shaped flowers with a wonderful scent.
And it fills up the house too.
Yes, and it's also incredibly reliable, flowering every year with more than one spike. It seems to know how much I like it, because it's giving us a bunch of cakeys.
I'm starting my list with the Phalaenopsis, the Joy Viol coral. Why it's called coral I have no idea, because nothing in the amazing deep purple burgundy of this flower says coral. It's a Violacea hybrid, but I like the scent of this one way more than the Violacea. But mostly I love its deep color, and how rounded and waxy the flowers are. We also picked it up from an orchid show, directly from the hybridizer, so it has a fond memory attached to it.
Next, I chose the Maxillaria picta. Even though it's not my favorite Maxillaria as far as the shape of the bulbs go, the flowers and their scent make up for this. The flowers are large and rise above the bulbs, with a very strong complex scent that reminds me of warm spiced honey. Right now we're downstairs across the house from it, and we can still smell it.
I also love that the spots that give it its name are in the back of the petals, so they look like different flowers depending on the direction. My next favorite orchid is Paphiopedilum delenatii. It has the most beautiful mottled foliage I've ever seen on an orchid. I also love the shape of the flowers. It's more rounded than other common Paphiopedilums, and I find it really cute.
I like that it's a really well-proportioned Paphiopedilum. The foliage is compact, and the flower spikes aren't too long.
I'm not a big lover of pink as a color, but I really like the contrast it makes with the white. It's also not the most common color in a Paphiopedilum, so I think that makes it look really unique.
My next plant is the Neofinetia falcata. As soon as we got ours, I fell in love with them. Their foliage is beautiful, and because of its growth pattern, even though it's a small plant, it always makes a big statement. Then there's the flowers, with their long spur, the wonderful jasmine scent, and the thick roots. The only thing that reminds me that it's part of the Vanda family. Most of all, when you get one, you also develop a need to collect more of them.
And to pot them very aesthetically, like the Japanese displays. The Oncidium soatoanum holds a special place in my heart, because it was the first non-Phalaenopsis orchid I ever had, actually.
That's right, I didn't even remember that.
The long spikes covered in tiny flowers are simply amazing. Even though the Oncidium twinkle, one of its hybrids, is pretty similar but more compact, I still prefer this species. Maybe because it smells much better to me than the twinkle, or maybe because of its history in our collection.
By now, I think it's noticeable that I like scented flowers. And the next plant on the list is the Phalaenopsis alfinia. It has a wonderful, hard-to-describe smell.
To me, it smells like fabric softener in the best of ways.
It's a small phal with very uniquely shaped flowers that to me are very unphal-like. So if you're tired of the common hybrids, this one is a must-have.
It actually gets its shape from the Phalaenopsis Finley, and it's so pretty that we have a bunch of Finley hybrids in our collection. Next, I chose the Encyclia mariae. I love how compact and pretty the plant itself is, and when it blooms, you get surprised by these relatively gigantic flowers. I love the contrasting green and white, and how fluffy the lip is.
It reminds me of a cartoon character blowing its nose.
It is such a well-balanced orchid, and you don't always get that with species. It's also really easy to grow.
And surprising no one, next comes another phal. This is the Phalaenopsis Sogo spot. But when we got it, it was just labeled as Phalaenopsis Super Stupid Carmela F2 with Gigantea Big Boy. So to me, it'll always be called the Super Stupid Big Boy. There's a lot to love here. First of all, there's the huge flowers and the huge leaves. It is a Gigantea hybrid after all. The flowers are really colorful and look very delicate despite their size.
But when you touch them, they are surprisingly waxy.
It's a plant that from the name to the flowers, it just makes me happy and smile.
My last orchid on this list is the Phalaenopsis speciosa blue-gray. And all varieties of speciosa are really special because of how they can have different colored petals every time they bloom, and I could probably have every single variety because the colors are all beautiful. But there is something really special to me about the blue-gray. Sometimes it blooms with this light, bruise-like gray color that I love. Other times a wonderful cool-toned lavender. Other times it has a bit more red in it. Sometimes the flowers are just pure white, contrasting with a bit of purple on the lip.
I didn't expect the colors to vary so much.
It's just an amazing orchid. And because another speciosa we ordered came mislabeled, we have two blue-grays now. So that's our kinda cheating top 5. We ended up doing it like this because none of us could narrow it down to 5, and we had a lot of orchids in common in our lists. So this way we get to mention more of them.
We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing to our channel. We hope to see you next week.
Goodbye.